These three handsome young men are brothers, identical triplets. Sam, he's very honest and he always tells the truth. Bob always lies, and Alex is unpredictable. Sometimes he lies, but sometimes he tells the truth. Amy is the brothers' old friend. She visited them after many years, and she could barely recognize who was who. Amy asked the guy who was sitting on the left, "Which brother is sitting in the middle?" The answer was, "Oh, that's Sam." Amy then asked the brother in the middle, "What's your name?" And the reply was, "I'm Alex." Then Amy turned to the brother on the right and asked, "Who's that guy in the middle?" The brother replied, "It's Bob." Those answers confused Amy because she had asked the same question 3 times and received 3 different answers. Can you help her figure out who is who? Sam always tells the truth, so the brother on the left cannot be Sam because otherwise he wouldn't be able to call someone else by his name. The brother in the middle cannot be Sam for the same reason. So the brother on the right must be Sam. And since we know he always tells the truth, the guy in the middle is Bob, and the brother on the left is Alex. Both Bob and Alex lied to Amy. No wonder she hasn't seen them in years. Daniel lent $100 to Alex, one of the 3 triplets. Sometime later, Daniel wanted to get his money back. One morning, he meets one of the triplets not far from his house. Daniel can ask him a 3-word question. Sam always tells the truth, while Bob and Alex always lie. What question should Daniel ask? The right question would be, "Are you Bob?" Here's the list of possible replies the guy can give. If it's Sam, he'll say no. If it's Bob, he'll also say no. And if it's Alex, his reply will be yes. That's why, if Daniel hears yes, he can ask for his money. Sam, Bob, and Alex bought some chocolate candies. Sam gave Bob and Alex as many candies as they already had. Then Bob gave Sam and Alex as many candies as they already had. And finally, Alex gave Bob and Sam as many chocolates as they already had. Now, each of the brothers has 24 candies. How many chocolates did they have in the beginning? At first, Sam had 39 candies, Bob had 21, and Alex had 12. You can solve the riddle this way. Have a look. Bob leaves home and turns right 3 times. He wants to return home, but he's scared of Sam, who's wearing a mask. What's going on here? The guys are playing baseball. Sam wants to cross the Sahara Desert. This risky journey will take 6 days. But unfortunately, one man can only carry enough food and water for 4 days. Can you calculate the smallest number of other people that will need to help Sam carry enough food across the desert? Two people. Let's suppose that Sam's brothers, Alex and Bob, agree to help him out. Never mind that Bob always lies. By the end of the first day, they'll have enough food for 9 days, 4 plus 4 plus 1. Now Alex can head back home with a 1-day food package. Meanwhile, Sam and Bob can continue their journey with an 8-day package. By the end of the second day, the total food supply will reduce to 6 food packages. Now Bob can grab enough food for 2 days and go home. At this point, Sam will still have a 4-day food package to fulfill his dream. Sam met a genie in the middle of the desert. The genie said, "Hi, I'm Leo. If you solve my riddle, I'm going to fulfill your wishes. But if you fail, you'll serve me till the end of infinity. Deal?" Well, Sam agreed. Here's the riddle. It's not alive, but it grows. It doesn't have lungs, but it needs air. It can't be washed, but it's never dirty. What is it? Can you figure it out? The correct answer is fire. First of all, Sam asked the genie for some cash. 9 rare and priceless gold coins appeared in front of the guy. Leo gave Sam balance scales and said, "These coins look absolutely identical, but one of them is fake. The fake coin is lighter than the rest. What's the smallest number of weightings you'll need to find the fake coin?" The correct answer is 2. First, Sam should divide the coins into 3 equal piles. Then he should place a pile on each side of the scales, leaving the remaining pile of 3 coins on the ground. If the scales remain balanced, it means that the 6 coins on the scale are real and the fake coin is in the third pile. But if the scales do tip, Sam will easily find out which pile contains the fake coin. Spoiler, the pile which is lighter. Either way, he should put 6 gold coins aside and leave only the lightest pile. Then he can use the same method to find the third coin, by putting 1 coin on each side of the scales and leaving the third one in his hand. Sam was hungry, so he had one more wish – to have dinner. Leo began frying some fish in a pan that could only fit 2 fish at once. It takes 5 minutes to fry one side of a fish. What's the shortest time Leo needs to fry 3 fish in one pan? "15 minutes. Leo should put 2 fish in the pan and fry them for 5 minutes. Then he should take 1 fish out and then turn the other one over. After that, Leo should start frying the third fish. He should fry both fish for 5 minutes. The first fish will be ready, so he should put it away on a plate while turning the other over. Now, he should put the half-fried fish back in the pan and fry 2 fish for 5 more minutes. Voila! All 3 fish are now ready." Sam left the desert and decided to stay in this little village to get some rest. He wanted to get a haircut and a shave after his long journey. There were only 2 barber shops in this village. In the first shop, the barber was handsome with a neat haircut. He was well dressed, and the place looked tidy and clean. Meanwhile, the barber from the second shop was shabbily dressed. His hair was cut in a weird way, and his clothes had stains from last night's dinner. His place didn't look clean at all. Which barber shop should Sam go to, and why? Since there are only 2 barbers in the village, it's obvious that the tidy barber must have his hair done by the other, and the second barber must have used the services of the first man. Therefore, Sam should choose the barber from the second shop because he's more professional. 2 business partners, Rick and Frank, met in a restaurant. It was a hot summer day, so they ordered cold mint tea with ice. Rick gulped down 5 glasses of this drink during lunch. Meanwhile, Frank managed to drink only 1 glass. Soon after that, Frank fainted and fell to the floor. Doctors diagnosed severe poisoning, but Rick was feeling completely fine. The police found out that both glasses contained poison. How did Rick, who had drunk 5 glasses of this tea, avoid any consequences? Rick survived because the poison was in the ice cubes. He drank quickly, and the ice had no time to melt in his drink. As for Frank, he drank his tea slowly, and the ice melted in his drink to poison it heavily. You pronounce me as 1, but write me as 3. You can't read this riddle without me. What am I? The correct answer is I. Bob bought a parrot from a pet shop and put it in a beautiful silver cage. The seller warned Bob that this parrot could give birth every 2 months, and it can deliver up to 5 babies at a time. How many parrots will Bob have in a year? Just 1, because he only bought 1 bird, not 2. I'm always trapped in my glass cage. I'm usually found at the bottom of the cage. If I climb higher, I get hotter. If I climb down, I get cooler. What am I? The correct answer is a thermometer. A father is locked up in jail. His wife has gone bankrupt. Their son has to sell his hotel in order to gain some money. Yet their daughter doesn't care and is happy. How can someone be so heartless? The family is playing Monopoly, and the daughter is winning the game. We've arranged 10 coins on a table this way. Altogether, they form a triangle pointing upward. Can you invert the position of the triangle and make it point downward while moving only 3 coins? Here's the easiest way to do it. Just move these coins as shown. I'm always ahead of you, yet you can never see me. What am I? Tomorrow. Can you spot your name in this alphabet soup? Oh, there it is. Rosie and Melanie are having an argument. Rosie yells, "I'm part of this club, let me in!" And Melanie replies, "Leave right now, you're not a member of our club." Can you figure out who's lying by just looking at this picture? Both ladies have club tattoos, but Melanie's tattoo is slightly different from the club's logo. Therefore, her membership must be fake.
Detective Callum has been searching for a missing girl, Riley, for 3 weeks. He was in his office going through the case for the 100th time when he got an anonymous email saying, "Can you guess what's written here?" It's just written in reverse order. If you read it from right to left, the message turns into, "The girl is in a hidden room beneath the Central Cafe. Bring $500 and I will tell you the passcode." Someone robbed a bank, and Detective Callum was leading the investigation. There were 2 robbers, but the police managed to catch only one of them, Dante. Dante refused to name his accomplice, but the police had 3 suspects, Bree, Ivory, and Ronan. Detective Callum took a brief look at them and knew exactly who the second robber was. Who was it, and how did he know? It's Ivory. Look, she has the exact same tattoo on her wrist as Dante. Holland went to work and asked her boyfriend, Kyler, to walk the dog. Kyler agreed, but then his friend called him and suggested to come over to play a new video game. So, Kyler decided to skip the dog walk and went straight to his friends. Holland and he met right outside the house when they were both going back home. Kyler said that he'd walked the dog and then went to play with his friend. But Holland knew that he was lying. How? It's winter, so just look at the footprints. There are Holland's footprints on the snow going both ways, and Kyler's footprints going both ways too, but there are no footprints of the dog. Someone in a little town was stealing bicycles. Every time someone's bike was stolen, the owner would find a business card with 2 emojis printed on it. The police had 3 main suspects, Ocean Walker, Rebecca Smith, and Damian Jones. Who is the robber? The emojis signify the name. They are a wave and a person walking. so the robber must be Mr. Ocean Walker. On Wednesday, after a break, Nash came to his desk and found a short love note written in red ink. It wasn't signed, but Nash had 3 girls in mind, so he asked each of them if she had written him the note. Layla said that she'd been chatting with her friends and didn't write any notes. Dawn said that she was busy all break finishing her homework. Oakley said that she had been in the bathroom and had just come back. Who do you think wrote the note? Look, Oakley's hands are covered in ink. It's blue ink, but still. If she really was in the bathroom, her hands would be clean. So she must be lying, and she must be the one who wrote that note. Adley was kidnapped and woke up in a dungeon. There were 3 ways out, but they all looked dangerous. Behind one door, there were many little robots that were ready to attack her. Behind the second door, there were 3 trained tigers. Behind the third door, there were 3 big and very hungry dogs. Which way should Adley choose to get out safely? The best choice must be the first door. Although they're robots, they're still super small and probably can't cause her much harm. Right before a restaurant was about to open, someone had stolen all the money from the cashier's desk. A cook said that he was working in the kitchen and didn't have any free time. The security guy said that he was in the bathroom and didn't see anything. The waiter said that there was a suspicious visitor peeking around. Who do you think stole the money? The restaurant was still closed and there couldn't be any visitors, so the waiter must have lied and is probably guilty. Ned works in a club, and his job is to check people's ID cards and not to let suspicious people or folks under 21 in. Take a look at ID cards and help him decide if he can let each visitor in or not. Here's the first one. What do you think? She seems fine. Let her in. Okay, here's the next visitor. What do you say? June 31st does not exist. There are just 30 days in June, so nope. What about this guy? Something is wrong once again. Even though February 29th theoretically exists, there was no February 29th in 1977. It's every year that can be divided by 4. Okay, what do you think about this girl? I don't see anything suspicious about her. Here's another candidate for the club. What do you think? Well, he is 22, and he seems fine to me. Let him in. A student was having an oral chemistry exam and was struggling with his last task. His professor decided to help him and have some fun, so he said that instead of the task, the student could guess his daughter's name. He only had one guess, but there was a hint. He wrote down several numbers: 32, 10, 14, 16. What's the professor's daughter's name? It's a chemistry class and chemistry professor, so there must be something related to chemistry. Look, there's even a periodic table in the background to help you. The 32nd element is germanium, or Ge, and the 10th one is neon, or Ne, and the 14th one is silicon, or Si, and finally, the 16th element is sulfur, or S. Together, they form the name Genesis. A bank was robbed, but they couldn't find the robber. A week later, at night, Detective Callum woke up from a call from a local shop's owner. He said that he found the money under his terrace. Detective Callum arrived, but there was only half of the money stolen. The man said that he had seen a man by his shop a week ago. It was a full moon, so he could see that the man had red hair and was wearing a dark hoodie. Still, the shop owner was arrested. Why? The shop owner said it was a full moon a week ago, but look, it's a full moon right now, so the man must be lying about something. In history class, students were asked to prepare a presentation about their ancestors. Edwin told about his great-great-grandpa who moved to New York and started as a salesman and then built a huge business. He even showed a photograph of his young grandpa in New York, but no one believed Edwin's story. Why? Even though the picture is black and white and looks old, old New York looks very much like modern New York, with dozens of skyscrapers. The class noticed and figured out that it definitely wasn't a real photo. Royce called the police and reported that someone had robbed his house. Detective Callum arrived and asked Royce to tell exactly what happened. Royce said that he had walked into his room and saw someone getting out of the window. It was still open because Royce didn't care to close it or touch anything before the police arrived. He checked his wardrobe and found that his savings had been stolen. Detective Callum closed the case. Why? The robber couldn't go out the window without stepping on the bed, but the bed is perfectly made, so it looks like no one was leaving through the window. Kaya was studying in the library. She went to the bathroom and left her things on the desk. When she returned, she found that her wallet had been stolen. She called the police and they interrogated the 3 students who were also in the library. Andre said that he had left the library right after Kaya to get a drink from the vending machine and hadn't touched any of her things. Poppy said that she was studying the whole time and not paying attention to anything. Rhea said that she was in the other part of the library looking for a book she needed and hadn't seen anything suspicious either. Who stole the wallet? It was Andre. He said that he had left to get a drink in a vending machine, but look, there's no drinks in the vending machine, only snacks. A young man named Colton was living with his best friend Cassidy. One morning, he called the police because Cassidy wasn't breathing. He said that he'd been working all day and had returned home late, so he hadn't seen her or talked to her for over a day. In the morning, he found her in bed like that. Last night, Cassidy had a headache and had to take many pills, so maybe that was the reason. Colton was immediately arrested. Why? Colton obviously didn't communicate with Cassidy, but he still somehow knew what she was doing in the evening. He must have come up with all of it, as he is probably guilty. The university chancellor enters the auditorium, where a lecture about genetic engineering occurs. A young teacher is drawing graphics and diagrams on the whiteboard, and students are redrawing them in their laptops. The chancellor knows that some of these students are not listening to the teacher. He walks around the audience and stands behind all the people. Who do you think is not focused on studying? All students are typing the formulas on their laptops. That girl over there is solving a crossword puzzle on her computer. Detective Richardson is chasing a robber dressed in a clown's outfit. The thief runs into the territory of a big carnival. There are a lot of clowns here. Help find the suspect among them. Catch that guy! His makeup is leaking since he's sweating after running. Also, he is the only one among all the clowns who took off the red nose, since he needs to take a deep breath. Angelica gets out of the elevator and goes to her room. She puts a magnetic card to the lock to open the door. Then she turns on a kettle and a TV. At this moment, the phone rings. Angelica picks it up.
Hello, it's your neighbor from the opposite apartment. I'm looking at someone trying to break into your house right now.
A voice on the other end of the line says,
He's trying to pick your lock with a lockpick.
I'm sorry, it seems you've called the wrong number, Angelica tells him and hangs up. Why did she think that? Her door has a magnetic lock. Howard got stuck on a deserted island after an emergency landing on his biplane. He had no fuel and no means of communication. He spent the last few nights building a raft from bamboo. He also sewed sails from the parachute, and now Howard is sailing away from the shore. At this moment, a storm begins. Waves and strong winds carry the small raft further from land, right into the center of the storm. And then Howard notices a ship. He's screaming for help, but a big wave turns the ship over. There's no chance of salvation. The raft sinks next, and Howard loses consciousness. He wakes up on the island again, surrounded by the ship's wreckage. Howard looks around and starts yelling with happiness. It seems he's saved. Why? There are fuel cans among the wreckage. Howard can refuel his biplane and fly away from this place. There's a secret helicopter hangar hidden among trees at the edge of the forest. A squirrel got stuck on the ceiling between the beams. Johnny, the woodcutter, comes inside and notices the poor animal. He's going to rescue it, but he doesn't know how to get there. There are no stairs or anything that can be used to climb so high. Help him save the squirrel. There's an open vent on the ceiling. Johnny can get to the squirrel through the roof, but how? The hangar is located among the trees. Johnny can climb a tree and jump on the roof. The premiere of some fantastic movie about graffiti culture was held at one local cinema. Some of the viewers liked it so much that they painted the wall of the building. The police caught 3 suspects. But who's guilty? Look at this girl with blue hair. She has paint on her fingers. Leo, Brad, and Chris walk in the park and tell each other how they spent the weekend. All the guys look rich and successful, but in fact, only one of them is wealthy. Look at them carefully and try to guess who. It's Brad. See the advertising banner of a new action movie hanging on a skyscraper in the distance? Brad's face is on it. Linda comes out of the library. She doesn't notice the curb ahead, stumbles over it, and breaks the heel of her shoe. She calls a taxi and goes to the city center. There's a street with many fashionable boutiques. Linda doesn't know which store to go to. The best shoes in town, the sign on the first building says. The best shoes in the country is written on the second boutique. The best shoes on the continent, the sign on a fashion house lights up. The best shoes on the planet is written on the next one. Linda moves on. The best shoes in the solar system. The best shoes in the galaxy. The best shoes in the universe. Then she notices a small shop at the end of the street. Linda chooses that one without hesitation. What was written there? The best shoes on this street. Roy is sitting in the classroom listening to 2 teachers. They're saying essential mathematical formulas to prepare students for upcoming exams. Roy is writing down their words, but he doesn't keep up with the teachers. His hand hurts more and more. The notebook is running out of pages. The teacher's speech is accelerating. They're saying a lot of new information. Ah! How can Roy remember all of this? Help him! He needs to use the voice recorder on his phone. The plane takes off from the airport. A flight attendant walks through the cabin and sees 2 passengers arguing. The crew member asks what happened. Jay says that Courtney took his place. Courtney claims that this is her seat. They showed their tickets to the flight attendant. She tells them that the program couldn't sell two identical seats. She takes their boarding passes and immediately understands what the mistake is. Look at the tickets and tell who's right here. Seat 14F is written on both documents. Jay's takeoff time is 2:57 a.m. Courtney's is 2:57 p.m. It was sunny when the plane took off. Also, the sun is shining outside the window, so Jay's got on the wrong flight. Alexis runs at the stadium every day, preparing for an athletics championship. And it starts today. Alexis warms up and notices a skinny guy among other runners. His legs look weak and thin. Is he gonna run? Alexis wonders. All participants get up to the starting position. 3, 2, 1, go! Alexis is running as fast as she can. She's in the lead, and that guy runs much faster and doesn't look tired. He wins. But how did he do it? Alexis realizes he's not a real athlete. He's not even a human. But how did she know that? The guy doesn't sweat, he doesn't blink, and he has two left hands. It's raining. Mike tries to walk fast so as not to freeze. His 3 goats are following him. He comes out to the river and notices a raft on the shore, but it can only withstand 1 goat and 1 human at a time. A tiger is sitting on the other side of the river. Mike can't sail with 1 goat and leave it with the tiger. What should he do to cross the river? There's no need to cross the river this way. Look, there's a bridge far ahead. There's a house right in the middle of the hottest desert. There is no water, trees, or villages around. 4 people live inside the building: the owner and his friends, an archaeologist, an oil worker, and a surveyor. The owner comes to the backyard and sees an empty jug. "Who's drunk all the water? We don't have any supplies anymore," he screams loudly. All the friends are in shock too. "Those who did that should go to the desert and get some water," he says.
"I was excavating in front of the house. I didn't touch the jug,"
the archaeologist replies. "I extracted oil under the house. I didn't touch the water," the oil worker says. "I was wandering through the desert in search of an underground river or lake, but I haven't found anything. There's no point in sending us there. You know, I think you've drunk it," the surveyor answers. "What do you think? Who's guilty?" Nobody. The jug was outside. The hot sand and the scorching sun dried it up. Dr. Phil works in a laboratory for the study of microorganisms. He's sitting in his office, reading a new scientific article. At this moment, someone knocks on the door. It's a young laboratory assistant. He looks scared and says he's met a real monster. "It has several mouths, long tentacles, and 1 claw," the guy says. He locked it in the lab. Dr. Phil goes there to see it with his eyes. He turns the key in the lock. The door is opening slowly with a cracking sound. The doctor steps inside and... nothing. There's complete silence here. There's no monster. Or is there? Where do you think it is? The monster is microscopic, sitting in the test tube. This is a laboratory for the study of microorganisms, remember? One old head of a large financial company is going to retire, but who will be his heir? Who will be able to manage such a huge corporation? He's calling an emergency meeting. All employees gather in the conference room. The boss gives $100 to each of them.
"That's all I had when I arrived in this city for the first time. But I used this money wisely and became rich," he says. "Who can use this banknote best of all will get the head position in the company. You have 2 weeks."
At the appointed time, all the employees returned to the conference room. Someone invested the money in startups. Someone bought shares from other companies. One guy just spent the $100 in a restaurant. Some smart people earned thousands of dollars. There were many worthy candidates, but none of them became the head of the company. Why? The reason is not related to money. The old boss passed away.
Miss Harrelson called the police and reported that someone had broken into her house. When the officers arrived, they found the woman tied up to a chair. She said a man in a black mask had entered her house and tied her up so that she couldn't even move. Then he had stolen all her savings and left. But the officers didn't believe Miss Harrelson and arrested her for misreporting. Why? If the woman couldn't move, how did she manage to call the police? It was Hazley's birthday. Her parents said that they had a present for her, but she had to find it first. To help the girl, they gave her a note that said, "Where should the girl look for her present?" It seems as if the note doesn't make any sense, but that's only because the two halves of each word are switched. If Hazley places them in the correct order, she'll get pretty straightforward instructions. Your present is hidden in the basement. Sydney told her mother that she and her gymnastics team were going to a sports camp for the weekend. Mrs. Stevenson knew her daughter well and suspected it was just an excuse. Sydney was going to spend the weekend with her boyfriend instead. Still, the woman helped Sydney pack and let her go. When the girl returned, she was angry with her mom for forgetting to pack a toothbrush. That was when Mrs. Stevenson realized she had been right, and Sydney hadn't been to the sports camp. How did she figure it out? When she packed Sydney's things, she put the toothbrush in the bag with her gymnastics clothing. If her daughter had indeed been to the sports camp, she'd have opened the bag and found the toothbrush. But she didn't, which means she never used that bag. Look at these people who are doing their grocery shopping. One of them has stolen a watermelon. Can you tell who? It must be this guy on the right. He's holding a soccer ball, but it looks as if it's very heavy. And since soccer balls don't weigh much, it must be a disguised watermelon. Mason went on an expedition to Antarctica. His boss asked him to send pictures as proof that he was actually there. Mason sent pictures every day, but when he returned from the expedition, his boss fired him. Take a closer look at the pictures and try to understand what his boss didn't like. Mason was sent to Antarctica, but in some pictures, you can see palm trees. No wonder the boss realized the photos were photoshopped and Mason hadn't gone there at all. An old man had extremely poor vision. He was living with his son, Mark, because he needed assistance all the time. One day, the man was resting in his armchair while his son was preparing dinner. Suddenly, Mark heard glass shatter. The man ran into the room and saw that the window was broken. He asked what had happened. His father told him that some dark-eyed, dark-haired guy had thrown a stone into the window and shattered it. Then he ran away. But Mark didn't believe his father. Why? The man had extremely poor vision, and he wasn't wearing his glasses at the time of the accident. He couldn't see the guy, let alone the color of his hair and eyes. Savannah went on a business trip with her husband. In the evening, the woman didn't feel well and suddenly blacked out. When Savannah woke up a couple of hours later, she couldn't remember anything. There were two men in front of her and both claimed to be her husband. The woman couldn't remember which of them was her real husband. Can you help her figure it out? They went to a business meeting. That's why they are both dressed accordingly. The guy in a hoodie doesn't look formal, so her husband must be the other one, the man who's wearing a suit. Now, this girl, Susanna, can't remember who her husband is too. Can you help her? It must be this guy. Look, he's wearing a ring while the other doesn't seem to be married. Ava's parents, John and Catherine, came to the hospital to pick up the teenager. Can you tell which of these young people is their child? It's this girl. John and Catherine are Ava's parents. Ava is a girl's name, and she's the only girl in the room. Esme was having her usual walk in the forest. By nighttime, she realized she had gotten lost again. She was wandering around until she came across the witch's house. The girl petted the cat, greeted the witch, and asked the woman to send her home. At that time, the witch was participating in a math tournament for witches from all over the world. She really wanted to win and to prove she was the smartest witch out there. There was one last task she couldn't solve. The witch promised that if Esme helped her, she'd let her go home. If not, Esme would have to stay with the witch forever. Here's the task. Make 3 identical squares by moving only 3 matches. You just have to move these 3 matches over there. It works, and Esme can return home. Thor asked his friends to guess what his laptop's 3-digit password was. Each of them made a guess. The numbers they chose were 357, 902, 907, 954. Even though no one's guess was right, every person guessed 1 digit correctly and exactly in its right place. Can you figure out Thor's passcode? Since just one of them guessed 1 digit correctly, the first digit can't be 9. In this case, 3 people would have guessed it right, and there wouldn't be enough people to guess the third digit. The only other option for the first digit is 3, which means the second digit can't be 5 and the third one can't be 7. Since the second one can't be 5, then it's 0. 2 people guessed it correctly. And the third digit is 4. If it was 2, it would mean someone guessed 2 digits correctly, 0 and 2. But that's not true. So, Thor's code is 304. Students were divided into 2 teams to do one task. Storm, Dean, and Brooke were in Team Yellow. Elsie, Emma, and Veda were in Team Purple. Following the same logic, what group does Lexi belong to? In Team Yellow, there are students whose names have just 1 syllable. In Team Purple, there are students with the names that consist of 2 syllables. Lexi's names has 2 syllables, so she belongs to Team Purple. Atlas got trapped in the attic of an old house. There are just 3 ways out, and all of them dangerous. Behind the first door, the roof and the floor are made out of magnifying glass, and the sun will burn anyone who comes in. Behind the second door, there's a room filled with poisonous gas, and the third door is hiding a hungry lion. How can Atlas escape? He should wait until it's night. The sun will set, and the guy will safely walk through the first door. Now, take a look at Iris and her close friends, Max, Ginny, Josh, and Ren. Who's her partner? It must be Josh. Look, they have matching tattoos. On a rainy night, Dylan was driving past a bus stop. There were 3 people there: an elderly lady who was feeling unwell, a doctor who saved many lives, and Selena, a girl Dylan had been crushing on for years. Unfortunately, there was only room for 1 more person in the car. What should Dylan do? he should give his car to the doctor, who would take the elderly lady and drive her to the hospital. And Dylan can stay at the bus stop with the girl of his dreams. Charlie, Andy, Taylor, and Alex are all related to each other, but one of them is the opposite gender from the other three. Here's what you know. Alex is either Charlie's brother or Charlie's only daughter. Alex's sister is either Andy or Taylor. Taylor's only son is either Charlie or Andy. Can you tell who's the opposite gender from the other three? If Alex is Charlie's only daughter, then Alex cannot have a sister. It means that Alex is Charlie's brother. If Alex's sister is Andy, then Andy's a girl. And according to fact 3, Charlie is Taylor's only son. But Alex is Charlie's brother. So we have a contradiction here. It means that Alex's sister is Taylor. So Taylor's a girl. Charlie, Alex, and Taylor are siblings. And Andy is Taylor's son. Now, Mary and John are an ordinary young couple. One day they decided to go out of town and spend some time in nature, so they jumped in the car. While they were driving, they suddenly saw 4 hitchhiking people at a gas station. But most of them looked pretty suspicious. There was a man in tattered clothes, a woman wearing a cape, a man with a sullen face, and a teenage girl. Who should they give the ride to? Look, the woman in a cape doesn't cast a shadow. She must be a vampire. The man with the sullen face has a vampire bite on his neck, so he's now a vampire too. The teenage girl has suspicious claws, so she must be a werewolf. Thus, the man in tattered clothes is the only one who doesn't seem to be dangerous. There's a huge crime spree happening in town. The police are swarmed, and they don't have enough officers to help everyone. The citizens need you. Buckle up and think fast. You have to catch all the criminals right away. Look at the screen and find all the suspicious people in town. There are only 2 of them, actually. First off, look at this lady. Why would she wear 3 wristwatches at the same time? These must be stolen. And since she has no bag or pockets, she had to put them all on her wrist. Next, there's this bearded man. Seems like he's got a lot of jewelry hidden in his beard. Oh, that's a weird construction. Paula and Jeremy have been married for 5 years already. They had a perfect relationship and everything was great. One day, Jeremy had to leave for a business trip for a week. However, he came back home unexpectedly 2 days later. Paula instantly realized that it wasn't Jeremy and called the police. Remember the real Jeremy who took off the wedding ring before he left for a business trip? The man who showed up 2 days later was wearing one. This is what made Paula suspicious. During an Arctic expedition, an explorer found an ice cave. He went in. Suddenly, the entrance got blocked by a small avalanche. Luckily, there were 3 other passages in the cave. But here's the catch. Each passage has a warning sign for the explorers. It says that the first passage leads to a group of Yeti, the second one leads to a huge group of mammoths, and the third one leads to hungry bears. Which passage should our explorer choose? Those warning signs must be a bit outdated. Mammoths went extinct long ago, so passage 2 must be the safest option. A young man woke up in a hospital without remembering anything, including his own name. Beside his bed, there were 3 men, each of them claiming to be this young man's brother. Suddenly, the young man had a couple of flashbacks from his childhood, and he clearly remembered that he only had one brother. Who is his real brother? The man on the right seems to be his brother. He's the only one who looks like the guy in the bed, plus they have matching tattoos on their arms. Martin's an undercover detective. He's on a mission right now, and he's pretending to be one of the staff members at a luxurious resort. His mission is to follow a dangerous criminal who's planning to steal a rare piece of art from a wealthy businessman. Martin has to report the situation to his partner Steve every day. They can't use phones to communicate, so they make codes using deck chairs and umbrellas. If the robbery isn't planned for today, there should be more deck chairs than umbrellas by the pool. If the robbery is planned for today, there should be more umbrellas. Today, Steve's flying in a helicopter over the pool to check the situation. Now, look at what you see and decide whether the robbery is planned for today or not. Yes, the robbery is planned for today. There are 5